few days ago, NVIDIA announced the RTX 4060 and the RTX 4060 Ti, but the latter is available in both 8GB and 16GB VRAM variants. That 16GB VRAM variant will come later though. And yes, that means the one that we have here is the 8GB VRAM variant. Our knee-jerk reaction was to immediately ask, why are there two variants and who is it actually for? Well, we asked NVIDIA that question and their response is as such. The 8GB variant offers gamers outstanding gaming performance at 1080p at an affordable price point, and for the 16GB variant, it offers extra performance for those who need extra performance due to that extra VRAM, whatever that means. We'll just take all that at face value for now and let's get started with the RTX 4060 Ti 8GB VRAM version review. We have compared it against the RTX 3060 Ti and also the RTX 3070 so we can get a better idea of what kind of performance that we can expect from this card here. And then we'll finally answer the question, is $399 worth paying for? Let's find out. In this review, we have the RTX 4060 Ti Fe, which shares a lot of similarities in terms of design with the RTX 4070 Fe, but the color is the same as the previous generation 30 series Fe cards. The TGP is rated at 160 watts and NVIDIA included a single PCIe 8-pin to 12V HPWR adapter inside the box, which I think is pretty redundant at this point. We expect custom designs from AIB partners to just use a single 8-pin PCIe connector for this card since, yeah, you don't really need that 12V HPWR connector anyway. The display outputs available on this card is also pretty typical, so we got triple DisplayPorts and a single HDMI. Now, our test bench specs are as shown on the screen here. Even though NVIDIA already specified that the RTX 4060 Ti is targeted for 1080p gaming, we still tested it with 4K and 1440p resolutions just to see how far we can push this card. Okay, time for the graphs and stuff. Starting with the Raster performance at 4K resolution, a majority of titles that we've tested did not meet the average 60 FPS that is deemed playable. That is to be expected, but again, we are only pushing this card to see how far that we can go. But surprisingly, the RTX 4060 Ti can manage above 60 FPS average for 1440p resolutions at the highest graphical settings. Moving on to 1080p, obviously we can get almost around 100 plus FPS across the board, and I mean, we're really expecting this since 1440p is already the new standard nowadays. How about ray tracing performance then? We'll use back the same settings as before, either high or ultra preset on the graphical settings and DLSS at quality preset. This is where the RTX 4060 Ti starts to struggle a bit. Sometimes it will perform similarly with the RTX 3070, but sometimes it will be much lower in terms of performance. At the end, the RTX 4060 Ti is only able to maintain around 60 FPS average for both Forza Horizon 5 and also Hitman 3. When scaled down to 1440p though, the 4060 Ti is able to maintain above 60 FPS on average for most of the time. Surprisingly, the 4060 Ti can also be seen performing slightly better than the 3070 in Cyberpunk 2077 and a lot better in Watch Dogs Legion. Once we drop to 1080p resolution, all three cards can handle it with ease and the 4060 Ti can be seen performing similarly to the 3070, probably due to games being more CPU bound in this case. Then the one exclusive feature that the RTX 40 series cards has is DLSS 3. Coupled with frame generation, we expect the 4060 Ti to perform with flying colors. But oh, it will definitely not fly with 4K resolution at max graphics with ray tracing on full blast, mainly because of the 8GB of VRAM. once lowered to either 1440p or 1080p resolutions, then yes, the 4060 Ti can fly at max graphics with ray tracing on full blast. With all of those info in mind, let's take a step back and analyze it. For Raster performance, the RTX 3070 still performs better most of the time, even though the RTX 4060 Ti is indeed capable of 1440p gaming. The 8GB of VRAM is my main concern here. More and more AAA games require more VRAM nowadays, and soon 8GB of VRAM will be a problem. Personally, I think that NVIDIA could have just stuck with a single variant with either 12GB or, better yet, 16GB of VRAM for the RTX 4060 Ti instead of having two variants like what we have now. When we look at both raster and ray tracing performance though, I'd say the RTX 4060 Ti is still a powerful GPU for 1080p gaming even without DLSS 3. Moving on to the synthetic benchmarks, the results here are pretty interesting as compared to the games benchmark. For benchmark that focuses on game performance, while the RTX 3070 is shown to be better than the RTX 4060 Ti in Unigine superposition benchmark, the result for 3D Mark Time Spy though shows that both cards are actually performing more or less on par. As for benchmarks that focus on content creation like Blender, Autobench 2020 1.5 and V-Ray Benchmark 5, the RTX 4060 Ti is shown to be the clear winner here. Now, as we've tested on other RTX 40 series GPUs, their power efficiency is exceptional, and it is the same for the RTX 4060 Ti too. At peak, the RTX 3060 Ti and 3070 can draw up to 225 and 275 watts respectively, but for the RTX 4060 Ti, it only draws 165 watts at peak, while also maintaining a similar performance to the RTX 3070. You can probably get away with just a 600 watt power supply in your PC, and this card will work perfectly for that setup. The temperature is also very good as well. We only saw 72 degrees Celsius peak under ambient temperature of 32 degrees Celsius, and yes, Malaysia is just that hot. And finally, to answer the question of today's video, is this card worthy of the $399 price tag? I'd say that this is heavily dependent on the user. As for the users who are ready to embrace new technology, the RTX 4060 lineup is currently the most affordable option that you can jump into. You get DLSS 3, AV1 encoding and decoding capabilities, and also RTX video super resolution, and as well as other AI-assisted tasks in content creation software as well. While not everyone will use all of these features, the RTX video super resolution is surely something that I am personally going to use it on a daily basis because it is essentially an upscaler, but it works with Google Chrome on YouTube and even VLC as well. So for the price of $399, I would still say it is somewhat acceptable. Else you can wait for the RTX 4060, which will launch somewhere later in June for only $299. I'm sure that many of you are also considering getting used RTX 3070 or 3080s, but there is a very high chance that you'll be getting heavily abused X mining cards instead. So that's all we have to share with you about the 4060 Ti 8GB variant in this video. So do let us know if you think that the $399 price tag is worth it, or would you shell out an extra $100 just to get the 16GB variant for this card? I'd love to know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.